Then we're just okay. We should, yeah.
Okay, so we'll wait for audiences to join. Namaste, happy Saturday. Nepali Poets Presence, Impact Anywhere with Yogi Sinayana in collaboration with International Nepali Student Association here in Australia. Public speaking is one of the challenges that many of us face in our personal and also in professional lives. For example, if you just want to talk to your parents or your siblings, in a mass gathering, in a family events, but then you feel something going on that stops you and you can't share your thoughts and experiences. And same thing happens in your professional lives as well. So why do we face such challenges? What are the reasons and how we can work it through and how we can grow and excel in our personal as well as in professional life? So today we have a special guest who is a public speaking coach, who have trained a lot of TEDx speakers, has invented hackathons, and has trained a lot of presenters. Please welcome Aaron Ngan here in this show. Aaron, welcome to you in this show.
Thank you so much, Yogi. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure as well to have you here. So you have been CEO in JA Australia, and I can see that you have done so much amazing jobs in public speaking. So to start with, why public speaking?
Absolutely, and I should mention that all of the things which I do kind of fall into this category of ultimately communicating what people are really excited about or interested in. So with JA Australia, that's the not-for-profit which I've started or launched or relaunched actually, which is all about entrepreneurship skills for high school students and university students, and that really kind of kicked everything going, because as we were starting to look at, okay, what do students really need? What do people really need? And in fact, just students, but also everybody. What do they need to get ahead? What do they need to go and have those projects in their life that they've thought about, that they've planned, that they've been trying to get ready, and they want to kind of get things going? What are some of the biggest things that we can do? So public speaking is one of those things. And I guess public speaking for me is one of those, and I'll come back to answering your question in a moment, but public speaking is one of those skills that everyone, no matter what they're up to, having the ability to express what they're interested in, share what they're up to, and really explain it in such a way that people are like, oh, wow, I want to be a part of that. That's something which everyone can benefit from. So ultimately, all of the things which I do, and it's kind of not been a straight sort of path. It's been jumping into career service at a university. It's been jumping into different programs, running entrepreneurship workshops, doing public speaking, and kind of building that skill up for the last probably 10, 15 years, up until recently actually going, you know what, I'm going to actually create my own programs and actually spend more time on this, because it's something which I really get excited about. So that's a bit of the pathway, and it's a bit about why public speaking is really important for me and what it makes available to people who can discover that for themselves and discover, hey, I can actually express myself. I can go out there and make that difference.
Wow, that's actually a journey for you, quite a journey for you to, last 10, 15 years. And now you're like, this is my thing. And now I am. So this also explains that you found your purpose, didn't you?
I really, so the short answer to that question is yes. And I do want to say that I really, whenever I'm coaching people or whenever I'm working with people and they say, how do I find my purpose? Like this is in all the workshops which I do, I tell them, don't do that. Okay. Right? Don't find the purpose, because when you think about it, the things that in life that we go and look for, the things that in life that we try and find, those things in life that the only reason we're trying to find them is because in the back of our mind, we know that it's lost somewhere. So it's somewhere like lost out there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be looking for it. So telling ourselves, oh, I need to go find my passion. I need to go find this. I need to look for it. That's like embedding for yourself that it's lost somewhere. And where I stand is like, okay, cool. Like, what if it's not lost? What if your passion is something that you already have, and it's there, and there's just a couple of things kind of like covering it up or kind of blocking you from actually fully expressing it. So it's already there. You've already got it. Mm-hmm. Now, what you can do is start to go, okay, like, what could I do to discover what my passion is? So now when you word it that way, when you create it in language that way, now it's like, okay, I've already got a passion. What is it? Now I'm discovering it for myself. It's kind of like you're peeling back the layers and be like, oh, okay, like what's out here?
Wow. So what we can see here is you're telling us that we need to look after ourselves and find out what's within us and try and explore and see.
Not find.
So it would.
Not
so
find.
How would you find that way, like you said?
Yeah, it would not find you. So how would you find it? You wouldn't find it. Because every time you've tried
that be trial and error process that you go and do things and figure out?
Absolutely. Even trial and error, when we say trial and error, we're kind of giving ourselves that back door of like, oh, at least I tried. It didn't work. Yeah. At least I tried. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's no full power there. Like when you actually say, hey, I'm going to go out and accomplish this. I'm not going to try to do it. I'm not going to think about doing it. I'm actually going to do it. Mm-hmm. Now there's some power there, and now you're also on the hook. Like we avoid saying these things because we think that if we say it and then it doesn't happen, it means that we've failed. Right? But that failure, when we can get that failure only existed once we said it, and it doesn't actually exist anywhere else. Hold on, okay, what if I could create those big games in the world, create those like big kind of projects and go, okay, you know what? What if I do fail? So what if I don't achieve that? If I'm going for it all in, what does that look like? And what will I accomplish regardless of whether I achieve that or not?
Wow, that's a big question, actually. And also, I think a perspective of seeing, like, would you see it as a trial and error, or would you see it like, what if I try it with full potential, and how would I feel like or look like when I do it and I make it?
No, I didn't say what if you try it with full potential.
So what would
this is perfect, right? Because this is how we communicate. The language just slips in there. I didn't say what about if we tried it with full potential? I said, what if we did it with full potential?
So you have to
what
think
if we actually fully
like,
committed?
Okay, wow,
instead of saying, oh, what if I try full potential? Because if you notice, when you say, I'll try go full potential, we're still saying the word try.
So here we don't give any chance of a doubt. No doubt at all. So it's going to be like 100% clear that you did it, like I do it.
I don't know about the doubt, right? Because when doubt comes up in our life, it's not like we have a say in the matter. It just kind of like the experience of doubt comes up, right? It's just kind of like automatic. So I don't know that there's no doubt. But what there is there when you declare that is like, okay, cool. I'm gonna choose to be convicted. Like, I'm gonna choose to declare, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Is there going to be doubt if it's a big game you're playing? Almost certainly, right? I'm not saying there's not going to be doubt. I'm not saying avoid doubt. I'm not saying run away from doubt, or I'm not saying suppress doubt. Like, the doubt's going to come up, but the doubt doesn't impact your actions. Like, we've all done things in our life that we really didn't want to do, like as kids, right? Like, go to school. I don't want to. And then you go to school, right? So there's things which we've done in life that we didn't want to do, but we still did it. Or there's things in life that we didn't know that we could have done, and we did it anyway, right? And there's things in life that we really, really want to do. I really, really want to start that business. I really, really want to ask that person out. I really, really want to anything. And we know that really, really wanting to, there's things that we've really wanted to do, but we haven't done those either, have we?
No. So what would be your message, saying that using that right language and setting that right intention?
Well, so I'll come back. So first thing to get, and that's a really, really great question, right? Because when you can start to get that how we interpret the world is via the language that we speak, like the narrative that we have. It's kind of like there's this voice. We go through life as like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's really good. Oh, I don't know about this person. Or like, here's this idea. This is confusing. Do I get it? I don't know. Like, I think, oh, look, it must be like that. Like, I've heard of this before. It must be like that. So that's kind of always going through in our lives, right? So when we can get what that language is, we can start going, okay, cool. This is what my language is. This is what my narrative is. It's kind of like I'm walking down the street. It's like, oh, okay, it's a bit cold. Oh, I didn't bring a jumper. Oh, what am I going to buy at the shops? Oh, it's just always there. And when we can start to kind of get the language of it, that's the first level. And then when we start to get what's coming out of our mouth and start to get that level of clarity, oh, what do I say? Especially what do I say when I'm not even thinking about it?
Wow.
It's like, oh, I'll try this. I'll try that. And if you carry it around like a recorder, like a voice recorder, and just recorded yourself all day and just notice what are those common words? What are those common themes? And it's very difficult, or it can be very difficult, because what our default will be is if we hear that back, if we're not actually getting that bit of distance and actually going, oh, okay, I wonder what am I saying? Or I wonder what is happening. If we don't get that distance, like what will happen is you'll listen to yourself back and you'll be right back in the thoughts. So like all that thoughts and narrative will just kind of come straight back. So that's the first level, getting clear that the language that we use, and especially the language that comes out of our mouth, really shapes how we view and interact with the world. So
to start with, what I can see you have walked me through is you have to know how you communicate with yourself. That is the first stage. Like you said, don't use this kind of force, like try something that you say, avoid it. Or like, record and see and distance yourself and see how your thoughts are coming and watch them out. So is this something that you need to work on for someone who wants to be out there doing public speaking with full confidence?
So it's one of the things, and before you said, is it trial and error, or how do we find your passion? So with the world of public speaking, it's actually something that you can get really clear. Like the only way to discover that next level of self-expression, getting good, like you could read all of the books on public speaking, you could watch all of the TED Talks, you could watch all of the training videos, learn how to stand, learn how to make your voice go higher or lower, or learn how to use your gestures, all that sort of stuff. You could read all of those books and none of that will make any difference until you actually start to put it into action. Right, so for someone to develop and even discover themselves, okay, wow, maybe I can be a powerful public speaker. Maybe. For someone to discover that, what that takes is the taking of the action of public speaking firstly. And if you want to be a powerful public speaker, one of the things that you want to look at is, okay, as a public speaker, when I'm speaking in public or in any group, right? Sometimes it's as simple as speaking up in a group of friends. Where do I get stuck? Or where do I feel like I can't express myself? Where do I feel I want to say that, but I'm not going to say that? Because when you can start to, first of all, understand that, or start to not understand it, right? When you can first start to see it, okay, this is what's happening. Now you can be like, now you can start to get curious. And you can start to get curious like, oh, I wonder why. I wonder why. Now, all the wondering, the getting curious, that's not going to take, it's going to contribute. But what actually has you step past that is actually those times where you feel nervous, or those times we feel, I don't know whether they're going to like what I need to say. I don't know if they're going to agree. What if I look stupid? I mean, there's a whole world of all of that, right?
Yep.
The moment you take the action, regardless of that, put all of that aside and you go, okay, you know what? I'm going to take that action. That's when you start to discover, all right, maybe I said the thing and I was really scared. And hold on, I didn't die.
Absolutely.
And it's those moments, right? It's those moments, like one after the other, which kind of build those building blocks of, okay, hold on, maybe I can speak to 5 people. Okay, hold on, maybe I can speak to 30 people. What's that going to take?
Wow. That's quite massive. Like, so you take one little step at a time to go out there and do it, have that intention, and then slowly you build that confidence, like you said, go like, good 5 people, then 10 people, then moving off to 20, 30. So you being in this industry for a while, why do you think people need to express themselves, and how public speaking is the right way for them?
Yeah. First of all, nothing ever happens without the people around us. In fact, the living of our life doesn't happen without the people around us. And if you're up to anything big, or you want to be up to anything big, one of the foundational things is you need to be able to communicate what you're up to in a way that has people go, hey, I want to be a part of that. I want to contribute to that. I want to find out more about that. I want to sign up for that. So you need to be able to get past everything that may or may not be kind of holding you back there to have any chance of actually having that impact that you want to have. Because ultimately, like, we're all keen to make that impact, right? Like the name of the podcast, when I heard about it, is fantastic. Impact anywhere, right? Now, a lot of us have impact somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? In our close friends, it's like we have that freedom. Like they might say something and right out of your mouth is like, don't be silly, don't do that. Like, instead, do this, right? So we're naturally, we've got that freedom there sometimes, especially with people that we're close to. But that's just impact somewhere, or freedom somewhere. It's not impact anywhere. So for people to fulfill, and this is why I love what I do, and it's the 2 sides, right? There's the entrepreneurship side, there's the public speaking side. And it's all in the world of communication. Yeah. And then there's all the career development side of, I've got this weird and wonderful winding pathway of career path. But when you take all of those, it's all about, okay, how do I communicate in a way, and here's the key, how do I communicate in a way that speaks to what's important for other people? Yes. So in entrepreneurship, when you're creating an idea, like, you might have the shiniest, most technologically advanced, the most efficient product ever, but if it doesn't speak to what's important for people, no one's going to buy it or want it or want to find out more about it. So you got to have that at the core.
This you said how like startups or being an entrepreneurship journey, how important public speaking is, we already know. But then, for example, someone's about to start a startup, especially for a lot of young people, students, or like uni students that come up with this whole different ideas and they want to do, but then they have this whole story, like you said, they can be advanced in technology, ideas and stuff, but then that is something I think that's pulling them behind. So what would be your one message to those kind of people, those kind of little business owners or entrepreneurs that are coming up? What would be your one message?
my one message. If you're limiting me to just one, it would be
Like the
to
very
share
important one.
share what you're up to. Like, so if you're creating this, like, share what you're up to. And that might start with, hey, we're creating this, like, we've identified this problem that these particular people are experiencing. So for me, I'd say, hey, like, one of the problems that I've seen is that people, especially young people who are in university and graduating from university, don't have the confidence in being able to speak in public and speak up. And they know that while they're good at their technical aspects of their career, they want to get up ahead in their career. They want to take themselves on. They want to rise up to those manager positions, right? And people are actually a little bit terrified of public speaking. So what I've put together is I've put together this course where, and then you go on. So you can start by sharing, hey, this is the problem that I've seen. This is the people that's impacted. This is what the impact is. So that's one place. Another place you can share is, hey, this is what I've been up to. Hey, I've been working on these courses, and you know what? Like, I've had these high hopes and high dreams of like having this amazing success, and it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't. And I really realized that I've been getting stuck and I've been getting distracted. I've been going on Netflix and YouTube and watching chess videos, right? Now, if you can share that and go, okay, cool. Like, this is what the journey is like. Because if you've ever noticed, sometimes you listen to people talk about what they're up to, and everything they're sharing is like incredibly perfect. Like, everything just seems to line up. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Like, first of all, not to discount from that or invalidate that, right? Like, all of those things, I'm not saying what they're saying is untrue. And it doesn't give people any access to actually participating. Because if that person's so perfect, how could I even contribute? If that person's so perfect, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. So when you can share, hey, like, this is what I'm out to achieve. It's a big, big vision. And here's where I'm stuck. Here's where I'm uncertain. Right? Because sometimes, like, we're scared that if we admit these things, people will be like, oh, see, you're a fraud. I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you actually admit that these are the places where you are pretending something, or these are the places where you're doing something, actually what happens is people start to be able to connect to you. Why? Because we all do it.
Yeah.
We all do it. Like that example I just gave, right? Like, where I was like, hey, big goals, right? I've been in that world so many times, and while what I'm up to and what I'm capable of keeps on expanding, it's not like that goes away and disappears. Because really that's something that everyone experiences. And when you can kind of get that, it's like, okay.
So
everyone,
the ground thing that we need to understand is everybody's going through something in their life, and they all are having that phase in life. And standing up and speaking and, sharing, like you said. Also, Aaron, something that I really wanted to ask, people have massive anxiety with public speaking. Have you ever had that in your journey, like when you started, or is this something that you thought, like, I'm born with it, or is that something that you worked on it?
So I definitely wasn't born with it. I remember in high school, probably one of the largest audiences I had to speak to was probably year 10, 11. And I was speaking to my entire school. Like, I get up there and I've got my sheet of paper with my notes, and I'm delivering the announcement on all of the charity events that are happening this week. So it's nominally pretty inspiring stuff. We're doing a Mufti Day where people can wear whatever they want. There's a donation involved. And this is the charity and all this sort of stuff. So I was desperately wanting to be funny. I was desperately wanting to be inspiring. And instead, I walked up, like, I read out the piece of paper, and all I could hear was the sort of the dull murmur of like 900 students, like high school boys, right? So all boys school, which kind of told me, like, okay, I don't know if anyone's actually listening. And I completed. There was some half-hearted clapping, and then I walked off. Right, so that's what it used to be like. So
what
I
were
definitely
your feelings
didn't.
at that time? Like, how did you feel when you're there? Like, or maybe even going before this stage, when you're like, okay, a few minutes before, and then you are like, oh, I need to go there. What were your, like, thought processes at that time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for me, for that moment, it was, yep, I think I've got this. Yep. Oh, okay, they're not responding. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna get through this. I'm saying the words. Okay. Okay. Yep. Like, okay. I'm looking down a lot. I should try look up more. Okay. I'm looking down. Okay. No, I should try look up more. So it was kind of like that. That was and then at the end, it was like, I wish it could have been better. Like the school captain. So the school captain was a fantastic speaker. Everyone always perfect jokes and laughs and everything like that. And I was like very clear that I wasn't that. Right, so that's what it was like. Now, when you said that people experience a lot of anxiety, right? So I'm not a medical professional in any sense, and I don't know what that means in any given situation because every person's individual situation is quite unique. Now, the challenge that I would say, or the invitation that I have for people is, and like this isn't invalidating anything of like I've got anxiety or anything. Like my invitation is, what does that actually look like? Because when people can start to get clear on, okay, what's my internal dialogue saying? Like, what am I telling myself? What's the experience like? Because when you can start to get clear on that, you can now, because people have different levels of all sorts of stuff. So I don't know if anxiety hasn't become this thing which is the default answer, almost like a reason why I can't do it. And I'm not saying it's not the case. What I am saying is that it's worth exploring and it's worth kind of diving into and going, okay, cool. Like what's actually there, right? Part of why I say is this, because like people have come to my course and even like in one of my short workshops, I was having a short workshop, and when I asked them, hey, what do you want to accomplish out of this workshop? And one person said, look, I'm terrified of speaking. I've always got this anxiety. Now, halfway through the course, I was like, okay, great. And other people shared. Halfway through the course, we did an activity, which is all about kind of like unleashing that expression. Mm-hmm. And she was participating. And once we completed the activity, I was asking people, hey, like, what did you discover? What did you discover? And she said something like, oh, look, I was animated. I was confident. Then I asked her, so at the start, you mentioned that you've always got this anxiety. Where is it now? And she was like, oh, no, it's still there. I'm like, no, that was too fast of an answer. Actually have a look. In that moment when you were doing the activity, was there any of that anxiety there? And she actually had to pause for a moment, and then it hit her. In that moment, like, actually there wasn't anything called anxiety. There was no experience of it at all.
Wow.
And she was like, that kind of blew her mind a little bit, because this was the first time that she'd experienced communicating free from anxiety.
Wow.
So inside of that, right, that's part of the context, right? So I don't have that anxiety is a overarching forever there sort of thing, like, because I think a lot of times, like, we hear people say, and I've said in the past, like, hey, I'm just a nervous person. I'm just not good at that. That's kind of like saying I am that way all the time, everywhere. And I don't know, right? Because as human beings, we're incredibly adaptable. Like, and if you kind of hear the stories of the young mothers who lift up the car in a burst of strength to kind of save their, like, the context gives us our actions. So when we can start to get, okay, what if that's something as an experience is there? Yep, okay. What if I could take the action anyway? So for people who are struggling with, I don't know, first of all, there's probably some version of, I think I'm going to get it wrong. Probably going to get it wrong. I'm definitely going to get it wrong. Or how do I make sure I get it right? How do I make sure I get it perfect? There's probably some of that in there. Mm-hmm. And that experience of being stuck is some version of all of those internal thoughts and feelings and all that sort of stuff. Am I going to get it right? What about that? What about this? Oh, what if this happens? What if they ask me a question? What if I can't answer it? And on and on and on. And none of that conversation is actually the action. Right? None of that conversation is the action. The conversation is just kind of happening. Right? In fact, it's not going to stop happening. It's going to keep on happening. But when you can take the action and get that the action, you can take the action independent of all of that. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it is simple. It is simple.
So
It's not
all,
easy, but it's simple.
yeah, so there is another thing that, comes up when you talk about all this having anxiety, and how you shared your experience, and how in your workshop people went and transformed themselves. What about someone who's already into public speaking? For example, someone is in this stage of like, okay, they started public speaking since like, it's a few months, a few years, but then I think there are always different areas in public speaking that you need to develop, and with time, with practice, like you said, you develop. There is one important area called rejection handling. So, for example, someone might not be, listening to you, or is opposing, and you are like in this whole mass of, let's say, 800, 900 people, 1,000 or something. What tools, or like, what would be like the way to overcome those sort of like rejections?
Well, here's something. So Yogi, has anyone ever told you to your face in these words, Yogi, I reject you?
So I think that has been happening, but not like more in like.
Hold on. No. Listen to my question. Has anyone said those words to you? Yogi, I reject you, or I reject you. Have they said those words to you
once
ever?
Or twice, but then
what did they say?
It was just as like, I think more like not as a really serious thing, but more as a fun part of it, something like that.
So it wasn't actually that rejection. It was just someone joking.
No.
So you've never had it in the actual rejection sense of it?
No.
Now, consider that what people imagine is that ultimately that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And look, if I told you, Yogi, I reject you. Okay, tell me, did he survive that?
I can, but then still there would be like
right now. Right now. I'm going to tell you right now. I reject you. Did he survive? Are you okay?
Yeah, I survived, but then I can still feel like a little bit of chill, like kind of.
Maybe.
Even though I know it's just because that we are like giving it a try on how it works, but then there's a little of like that feeling that just like kind of like somewhere kicks in and then it just goes away.
Yeah. No, I got it. And why I kind of illustrate that is because when we think about, okay, what's like, if that happens, what's going to happen next? And then go on and go on and go on. We kind of end up in this really absurd sort of place. Now, fear of rejection is ultimately kind of fear of being judged. Right? So part of like, is someone going to judge me and all that sort of stuff? And here's what I tell people. Yes, you are going to be judged. In fact, everyone is judging you all the time. And how you can notice is if you look at yourself, okay, and you look around at everyone around you, aren't you judging everyone all the time? You are. Like right now, you're judging this conversation. I'm judging your response. Like everyone's judging everyone all the time. So it's always happening. In fact, we can't stop it even if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when people can get that, okay, hold on, this is just something that everyone's doing. It's happening all the time. And in fact, I've lived my whole life like this. And I've actually survived up until this point. Now there's a start to a bit of freedom. It's a start. And where you can go to is like, okay, well, firstly realizing any person, here's something as well, right? When you're listening to someone speak and you're listening to everything that they're saying, especially if they're like a semi-decent speaker, or even if they're not a decent speaker, you're going to connect with all that sort of stuff. Now, chances are either you'll be quite connected and you'll be like, wow, that's really good, right? Which often for most people is independent of how that person actually feels for themselves, right? Have you ever told people, hey, that was such a good speech, and they told you straight back, I was so nervous, I thought it was terrible. Have you had that experience with friends?
Yeah, like quite a few. Not.
Yeah, most people.
Yeah.
Most people do that. Now, and then you can start to see, hold on, I thought they were great. They thought they were terrible. Interesting.
Wow. Exactly.
Interesting.
Very
and then you can start to kind of get, what if that's happening to you? Now, here's the thing. when someone, so I was talking before about getting up in high school and speaking in front of my entire school. Now, after I did that, we went to the recess break, like 15, 20-minute break. And a person came up to me and was like, Aaron, that was a really great speech. I was like, it wasn't really, but thank you. Like, it definitely wasn't as good as that. I was like, okay, cool. Then another person came up and said the same thing. He was like, oh, that was really good. And then a third person, no one after the third person, that was it. Like, it's not like a flood of people came, it was just 3. But I got in that moment and, okay, hold on, that's really interesting. And having since gone into this world of like actually teaching and coaching people to transform what's in the way of them being powerful public speakers, in essence, having people discover themselves as a powerful presenter, what I really got is that in those moments, those 3 people and probably a whole bunch of other people, they were not comparing me to the Barack Obamas. They were not comparing me to the Sheryl Sandbergs. They were not comparing me to the Tim Cook, Steve Jobs, all that sort of stuff. Guess who they're comparing me to?
Themselves?
That's right.
Oh, I
right?
got
Because most times, especially in a school setting, right? Like when you see someone speaking or in a group setting, when someone says, I'll do the speaking, for most people, the experience is like, thank goodness it's not me.
Exactly. Wow.
Right? So they're not comparing you to anyone else. Like by default, the default is for most people, they're going to compare them to yourself. So they're going to be so much in their own head.
Wow.
That they don't even have any space to meaningfully judge you, let alone reject you. So when you can start to get that, it's like, have I been making a big deal out of this? Really? I've been making a big deal about this? Okay. I'm going to stop doing that now.
Wow. That's a massive, I think, breakthrough. That's what I would say. Like, it's a reflection. But I can
what are you getting for yourself? What are you discovering for yourself? I'm curious now.
For me, what I can discover is, even though like I'm really into public speaking, I do love, but then time and again, I would be like, did I do it right or not? Like you said.
Yeah.
But now I can feel like it's actually not me, but then, whoever is going to give me compliments or feedbacks, or it might say like good or bad, it's their story. And what I need to manage or see is like my story. And I have to think that I'm more confident, I'm doing it better. That's what I just found out, rather than thinking how, like, having that always things running at the back of the head, like, oh my God, did I do it well or not? Like how you shared the story.
Yeah.
I think it's a big breakthrough for me. And also,
and I can hear it, right? Because do you now have like a new level of freedom? Like just the experience of it's like,
yeah. Because for me, I was told like when you are up in the stage and presenting, you are the in charge, you are the lead. And like, when you say people do something, they will do it, they will go through it. But then there could be challenging time when people would like stand up and, ask some questions that might, be a little bit hard to not answer, but someone's like kind of said rejecting you or something. So now I can totally relate to it and say like, if like I haven't have that situation, but in case if I have now, I know that it's nothing to do with me. I think that's with the person, and I don't take that baggage with me all the time. Instead I keep on moving and marching forward. Wow, I think it's a big breakthrough. I think thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome. And here's something powerful, right? Because when you get that it's got nothing to do with you, that's incredibly powerful. And only then can you go to the next level, which looks like, okay, it's got nothing to do with me, and I'm going to take 100% responsibility anyway. Right? So what that can look like, right, is like, hey, I want everyone in the room to put their hands up. So I ask them to put their hands up. I raise my hand. Now, I've got a choice if like there's like not everyone's doing it. Now, if I step over that, now everyone knows like, oh, okay, it's okay to not do it. Right? And you see some people, it's like, oh, has anyone done this? No one answers. Yeah. And it's awkward, right? But you can go like, hey, if you've got that freedom, Because here's a couple of things, right? Maybe the simple answer is the most accurate. Maybe they just didn't hear you. Maybe they weren't clear. So you can say it again.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I'm asking a room of people, even on Zoom, same thing, to raise their hand for something, you'll actually hear me, if you listen to what I'm saying, you'll actually hear me say, raise your hand. Yep, raise your hand. And you hear me say, raise your hand, probably like 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
Just so they really get it. All right, so everyone, raise your hands if you've ever felt nervous in a presentation before. Okay, raise your hands up, raise your hands up. Okay, lots of hands over here. Okay, wait, just look, everyone has, raise them up, raise them up.
Wow.
And I'll literally do that until I've gotten sufficient engagement. All right, because now I've gone to that next level. It's not about me. They're not judging me now. Now I'm free to actually take responsibility and say, hey, I'm going to cause this. I'm going to make this happen.
So I can understand is once you say this is not about me and you keep on marching forward, that's when you come to a position that you are like, now this is the time I can help people. Now that's how you say, like, raise your hands. Let's engage as many audiences as we can. Wow.
Well, because I no longer have to resist that something's wrong with them. Or I don't have to resist that there's something wrong with me.
Wow.
Which is powerful to get, because when I don't have to resist something's wrong with me, I can now be like, okay, well, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes. Of course. Wow. It's just, I think it's just getting so beautiful and powerful that anyone who wants to go out there and excel would love to do this. And, also with Aaron, we are approaching on the end of the show. What is something that you think would impact, especially for someone who really wants to develop their public speaking abilities? For example, I had a webinar that I organized for health professionals that they can come on board and share their experiences. Like few health professionals that I approach, they're like really great on what they do, but they're like, I had few people saying me, I wish I would love to help, but then I'm not good with, facing people and sharing. So similar, like, these kind of people, what is one little thing that you want to share, or what sort of impact you want, them to have, or you want to give it to?
Yeah. So first of all, with that specific example, like if people have groups, like especially small groups of people, especially around a community or especially around a cause or things like that. So I predominantly do I do a lot of workshops, for example, with student societies, so student leaders, things like that. So if people have a group like that, let me know, because I would love to actually run something for free for your group of people. I won't charge you for that sort of thing. If it's for that sort of cause or for a community or something that's going to make a contribution to people, right? So that's number one. That's a shameless plug, shameless self-promotion. Thank you. But what I would say is, for those people, 2 things. First, get clear on, okay, what do I actually want to have happen in the world? What's the impact that I want to have? What's that about? Why do I want that? What's going on? Right? And then the second thing to get clear about is, okay, I'm going to set myself the task to share it with 2 people tomorrow. And just note down, what are all the excuses that you come up with to get you out of that? And if there's not any excuses, then just go do it, and then go, okay, what about 20 people? And then then start noticing the moment you've got some excuses, write those down. Because once you write down those excuses, you'll start to get, okay, this is what stops me from sharing on LinkedIn, from sharing on social media. This is what stops me from sharing in groups of people. This is what stops me from sharing in my team meetings. Like when my boss asks me, hey, do you have any ideas? And you've got an idea and you just say, nope, I don't have any ideas. It's those excuses that until you identify them, run your life. Right? So that's the first part. You're going to start going, okay, what do I want to accomplish? Right? Because without that, it's like, oh, I don't know. Actually get clear. What do I want to accomplish? And what are the excuses that I have that stop me from sharing it with other people? And then the second part is, okay, when am I going to do it? And actually schedule in the action. And I would say start as small as you're comfortable with, because the focus is on taking the action. So if the smallest you're comfortable with is literally, I'm going to sit down for 10 minutes and I'm going to write up, here are the top 5 things that I care about here. I'm not even going to explain it. I'm just going to write a list, 5 dot points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. Second one might be like, okay, cool. Here are these 5 points. I'm going to share it. I'm going to put it up on social media. Could be literally, hey, I've been thinking a lot about, this is what I'm up to. So for you, maybe, I don't know. Like, I've been thinking about, how do I take my podcast to the next level? And here are the 5 ideas that I'm thinking about. And I want to share this journey with you. And I'd love to hear, what else can I do? And then boom.
Wow.
But when you start to think of everything all at once, having to happen all at once, it can get pretty overwhelming, can't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, so start with, okay, what are the simplest actions? And then when am I going to do them? And then here's the only thing that's going to make the difference. Actually take the action.
Wow. So
Only thing that's going to make the difference.
what we have to do is take massive actions. And that's where you see the results.
I didn't say take massive actions.
Because if
take any action.
Any action, like not
any
massive.
action.
So we say like any action as long as they are actions. So writing down the excuses.
They can be massive actions. They can be. They don't have to not be. But a lot of the time we stop ourselves because that's too big. That's too big. I can't handle it.
So it would be like,
okay, take an action.
Little by little actions. That's what we can recommend, especially for beginners and someone who's already on the field. I think for those people, it would be like taking massive actions. I think
I don't know about. I wouldn't put a size on it. Right? Find the actions that are sufficiently large that you start to come up with all of the excuses. How you know that it's big enough is that you just come up with all of the excuses. I didn't want to do that anyway. This is a silly idea. What if the people think I'm like, this doesn't make sense? What if I tell everyone and it fails? Why am I so good at creating all of these? Because I've had and experienced every single one of these, by the way. So it's not like I'm just kind of listing from a textbook. Right? I've experienced every single one of these. And when those excuses come up, that's when you know, okay, this is sufficiently outside of my comfort zone. That, okay, cool. Now I'm going to take an action outside of my comfort zone. I don't care what size it is, right? For some people, chatting to one person is going to be that massive action.
Wow.
For some people, saying, hey, I'm going to speak to 1,000 people in the next 3 quarters, in the next 3 months, that's going to be massive. So it's not about the size of it. It's about, okay, where can you start taking actions outside of your comfort zone?
Wow.
That's where that's the only thing.
This is like a massive, I think, of knowledge and wisdom, or like an experience that you have, gone through. Actually, individually, it could be different, and figuring out what is out of your comfort zone and taking that action. Wow, I really love this. I literally love this.
Thank you. No, it's been, the time's gone by so quickly.
Wow, it's just the way I think, it's just like now switching in the other way. Wow, I love this. How what you said. So where can people connect you, Aaron? Because I think there would be a lot of people that would love to get to upskill themselves with public speaking, where they can find you.
Absolutely. The best way to find me is on LinkedIn. I just type my name, AARONNGAN, into LinkedIn. You can Google me, you can search me, you can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the best. And best thing to do is say that you heard me on the Impact Anywhere podcast with Yogi Sunaya. And it's going to be fantastic. Sunanya. Sorry, I said that completely wrong.
Okay, thank you guys. Please connect with Aaron through LinkedIn, and as you said, Google. Also, this video will be out there about, so you can have a look on what steps he has told. And also, I really do strongly recommend to improve your public speaking, because it's where you actually not only improve your professional but also your personal life. With that, I'll see you all next time with another special guest. So far, thank you, Aaron, for your time and your energy and all the knowledge, wisdom, and experience you've shared today. And we'll hope
My absolute pleasure.
Yeah, we'll hope to see you next time again soon in the show. Thank you, and
Thank
thank
you.
you all.